our Instagram Live today. This is a new project for us, so thank you for your patience in kind of figuring out the technological aspects of this. We're really excited to come to you guys today. I have a practitioner joining me in just a few moments here that is the owner and acupuncturist at Bridge Community Acupuncture here in Largo, Florida. That is where our Chinese herbal medicinary is located. And I'm Haley Gardner. I'm a Chinese medicine practitioner, nationally and state certified, and I am specializing in herbal medicinary and compounding services, as well as Chinese herbal education with a classical Chinese herbal tilt. So today we are going to talk to Melissa and find out what she has to share with us. Let's see if we can get her in here. Hi, Melissa. Welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Awesome. I'm so glad it's working. How are you doing today?
Good, good. I wasn't sure if I missed you or if it was going to work, so I'm glad to actually see us here.
Yeah, no, we did good. I'm proud of us. So I'm just going to share a little bit of your contact information so that if anyone is interested in learning more about Melissa's practice, you have the ability to find her online, and we'll revisit that later on as well so we can make sure everybody has that information. So Melissa, tell us a little bit about your practice. Do you have a specialty? What are your interests within the realm of Chinese medicine?
Currently, I have a community acupuncture clinic. It's Bridge Community Acupuncture in Largo, Florida, like you said. And we really focus on making acupuncture accessible and affordable and effective to as many people as possible. Throughout 20 years of practicing and studying Chinese medicine, I think the weakness in the medicine in America is its accessibility and people really understanding how valuable Chinese medicine is to their well-being. So our goal is to reach as many people as possible.
That's wonderful. Yeah, and I can definitely attest to the convenience and the efficacy of a community style model. When I first moved to this area, that was the first thing that I did, was reach out to try to find a community acupuncture clinic that was available and accessible and close by. And I feel so grateful that I found you guys. Melissa has been my acupuncturist for a while now, and I'm very, very happy with not only the environment that she creates at Bridge Community Acupuncture, but also the care and attention. And for me, so much of that had been about working through a lot of just move-related stress relief and kind of nervous system balance. And I know that in my experience, it's just been, world-changing to have that kind of support just when you need it and available. So thank you for that. I know others really benefit from those services as well.
Thank you. I know that's a perfect example of what we're here for, is, we all have these life events that set us back or unbalance us or make us fatigued, stress us out, or even physical accidents or things that happen to us that hurt our body. And so to be able to come to acupuncture whenever you need it, as often as you need it until you're better, is really, it's a gift.
I agree. What kind of got you interested in the community aspect of acupuncture? What was the path that kind of landed you in this style of practice?
Like many acupuncturists, I was searching for my niche or my fit, or how I could really realize my vision as a Chinese medical practitioner. And it had many forms throughout the years. I started as a licensed practitioner in 2003, and there was one theme throughout all of it, which was I wanted to not overcharge people. I wanted people to be able to afford it. And, not that there's not value in a high cost acupuncturist, because there is value there, but so many people that I knew and lived with couldn't afford, even $50 or $60 for a treatment. And so I was always trying to find something to make it more affordable and accessible. And actually, one of my classmates, we were in school together in 1999 to 2002, and he had started St. Pete Community Acupuncture in 2009. We actually had lost contact and weren't speaking to each other at all. And we ran into each other in a mall. And he said, "Hey, I need to cover a maternity leave. Do you want to come work at my clinic?" And it was awesome. It was kismet. It was meant to be. As soon as I started working there, I was like, "Oh, this is what I've been looking for." And I worked there until it got so large that it just made sense to open my own clinic in my own community, which was in 2017.
Oh, that's awesome. So was that was that Bridge Community Acupuncture at that time? So you guys have been in
Yes.
practice in this location since 2017?
Yes. Yep.
Wow, that's a really cool story. I love that. It's such a beautiful thing when kind of your vision for how you want to practice in the world and the needs of the community and all of those things kind of come together and you just have that, oh, it clicked moment. I think that's what we're all looking for. Absolutely. What is one of the things I always like to find out from practitioners is just what are some of the biggest struggles that you see patients coming to you that are just really suffering with? Like, what are the things that you wish they would know about their healthcare earlier on that you think really could have helped prevent a lot of suffering?
That's a great question, and it's a huge question with a lot of answers. But I think it's two things. One, recognizing that your state of well-being has everything to do with your stress management skills and the coping tools that you have for what happens in your life. And so, again, the community acupuncture model, our model specifically, is really about being there to meet those needs. So in the same way that you go to Starbucks or a coffee house to just get that familiar feeling and that warmth and that relief that you get just from getting yourself a treat and whatever, we want you to feel that way when you come to our clinic, so that anytime you're driving around, you're stressed out, life has thrown some stuff at you, you don't quite know what to do with, you just, you remember, oh, I'm just going to go to acupuncture. I'll be there for about 45, 50 minutes. It'll be great. I'll feel better afterwards, and I'll be prepared to deal with this in another way. So I think that is the pillar of well-being. And then, of course, obviously, there's illness and trauma, things that happen to us. And so recognizing that the doctor that you're waiting for, the test results, the prescriptions, that those might be things that you need in the moment. Absolutely. But they're not the answer to regaining or recovering your well-being, and really finding the place of understanding to recognize that you have to heal some things within yourself and work on your stress management skills and your coping tools to be able to kind of get back to where you want to be. Absolutely. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, that's a great answer. So it sounds like you're really finding that place or differentiating, I guess, between illness and health, and you're really focusing on not necessarily the crisis itself and the illness, but actually kind of once that's managed, if medications or any of those things might be necessary, that doesn't necessarily mean we've found health. You're kind of helping go from that, okay, crisis managed, to thriving, rather than just staying somewhere over here in this don't feel great, but I'm not technically sick space. Is that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And realizing that whatever illness or accident or whatever has happened, or big life change has happened for you, it's just one in a long string of them, and recognizing that each time you can get better at managing it. And as we age, we understand our bodies and our minds in a different way, so we need to adapt our tools and our skills to be better at it.
That's That's very profound. I remember one of the first appointments that I had with you, you said something to me when kind of introducing yourself. You said that you seek balance in all things above all else. And I repeat that in my head often when I'm finding myself kind of tip in a direction or another. I remind myself to just seek balance in all things. That was a very profound, just it clicked for me for some reason. So it sounds like you embody that in your practice really beautifully.
Awesome. Thank you. We try. We definitely try. It's always a balancing act. It's always the balancing act, right?
Well, I think that sometimes is why our medicine can be so profound for patients, is because we have the opportunity to demonstrate it in action versus just prescribing a treatment plan or a set of herbs or acupuncture treatments or, you know, whatever might be appropriate. We can show, you know, what that looks like in action, because like you said, it's just life is a string of things that happen and experiences. You know, it never calms down, you know, as much as we want to say, oh, well, it'll be calmer soon. Like, you know, it's life, but we're just on this roller coaster together. And it's really wonderful when you do have that space where, you know, you can step into, that's just always available, and your nervous system just goes, oh yeah, I'm safe here. Awesome.
Exactly. Yes, that is exactly it. That feeling when you walk in somewhere, like, oh, and you can let all of the stress or all of the, oh my gosh, the fight or flight sympathetic nervous system that's always up ready to fight for you, you can let it down. And that's where you're really going to connect to your own healing from that place.
Well, one of the things that I know about you is that you're also a licensed social worker, and it sounds like you really work in that space of mind-body connection as a priority. Do you want to speak a little bit more about how the social work aspect of things kind of influences your practice?
Sure. We've kind of already talked about it a lot. I went back to school to get a degree so I could have a license, so that it all felt, you know, more formal, and it was all more current with our societal rules, right? But I started school studying psychology, and even before that, you know, studying philosophy and in Buddhist traditions, really about mind-body connection. And so it's always been this underlying theme in everything that I do, because it's not really even the mind-body connection, really. It's the mind-body unity. And our Western society has separated that, and even, you know, convinced us that it has to be separate, like, oh, we're going to connect it now. But it's always been, you know, whole. And so really appreciating and understanding how your mind informs your physical body and how your physical body informs your mind. And so when it came time to go back to school to have another degree, I really took all of the years of practice that I had and the experiences that were presenting themselves. And social work is, you know, a branch of psychology. You know, they're separated in schools, but it's a branch of studying the mind that really includes other parameters like your community and the place that you live, your level of abundance or lack thereof, you know, lots of things that are important factors in who we are and what happens in our lives. And so kind of marrying the community acupuncture idea with the social work background, and trying to just broaden our perspective of what our whole being, how we're navigating the world, and how we can study our minds to get better at navigating it.
Absolutely, that makes a lot of sense to me, and I can see how that community focused aspect of the way that you're practicing acupuncture really lends well to meeting that, because it does. You know, we have all of these mental emotional needs, and so many things come up within the community, and it affects everything. So I think that's a really cool thing. That's I love to see practitioners that just dive so deep into the specific aspects of Chinese medicine that they are in love with. I think it lends so much just integrity and meaning to our profession as a whole. So that's wonderful.
I love that. That's a great statement. I love that. Absolutely. I agree. And that's one of the things that I love about you and your company. And I'm so excited to be working with you and to have this new tool to offer to my clients.
Yeah, thank you. So let's talk a little bit about your relationship with Chinese herbs. I know you have a really interesting story, or I find it interesting, about kind of how you started, and I know you came into Chinese medicine with an interest in herbal medicine and had to sort of set it aside a little bit for a while. Would you mind sharing that with us?
Sure. Yep. Back in 2003, I loved every part of Chinese medicine, and the herbs, especially just getting my hands in the plants and creating the concoctions. And but I started practicing in Indiana in 2003, and I failed to recognize that most of my clients were not open to boiling these weird earthy smelling herbs in their home and drinking tea they could barely stomach. And so about 5 years later, I had to throw hundreds of dollars of herbs away just because they had shelf expired. And it it was just an eye-opening moment that I had to accept then that herbs weren't going to be in that fashion part of my practice. And of course, that was 5 years of a lot of disappointment, and a lot of trying different things and trying to make it work. So then for a little while, I just stuck with things that were very safe. Some pre-made tea pills and some teas. And in that time, I really focused on trying to get, the needles to do as much work as they possibly could, especially because, clients are reluctant to take dietary advice also. And so, again, that's how the path of getting to the community acupuncture, especially. But the need for herbs has never left my mind. There are some people that can get better with just some supplements or some pre-made things and just needles. And there are some people that really need some internal changes that herbs provide, that they're not really going to get in any other way, or it's going to take a really long time. And so, yeah, so I'm so excited that you moved here and that you have this business that you do. It's it's really exciting. And the more I try your herbs, the more excited I am about it.
Thank you.
So
That's wonderful. So how has your relationship with, I guess, in practice in your clinic, how has your relationship with Chinese herbs changed since you started working with me in estuary herbs?
So I mean, I think you can feel my excitement now. It's,
I do,
you
I love
moved
it.
here earlier. I think you just moved here earlier this year, and we really kind of started working on our partnership in the summertime. And so, now I've gotten some feedback from clients who have taken some. I've taken some for some needs that I had, and this week, actually, I had 2 new clients, and immediately I was like, oh, I need to call Haley. I need to get this woman on herbs right away. She had a lot of internal struggles that Chinese herbs specifically can address. And I feel confident that with a couple conversations, you and I can really pinpoint what she needs, and you can make a formula that she's going to take, and it's going to help her get better.
Absolutely. And that's some of that collaboration that you're mentioning. That's one of my favorite things, because not only do I have the opportunity to kind of do my work with herbal medicine on a wider scale and, with patients that I may never have encountered otherwise, but I get to collaborate with other practitioners that light up about Chinese herbal medicine. And, we get to just kind of bounce that ball back and forth and really put both of our minds into creating this understanding of the pattern and the diagnosis from a Chinese medicine perspective, and matching that with the perfect formula to help to rebalance that internal environment that you're mentioning. So if there's someone who is not able to achieve those results, or maybe isn't able to get to acupuncture often enough, or, is just the condition that they have is something that requires building up a deficiency, which, oftentimes is the type of patient that really requires the addition of something else. When we have these incredibly deficient patients, we can move chi around all day long with needles, but if there's not enough of it, we need to supplement with the appropriate internal herbal formula. So that's one place that I think is just such a perfect balance and kind of adjunct for what you're doing already for the population you're working with. So thank you for that opportunity. That's just wonderful.
Yeah, I want to mention while you're in that line of thinking, also in my practice, I tend to really focus on the mind-body unity and what's happening and all of those things. But there is external pernicious forces that invade a body, and as we all are aware in the last 2 years. But and so in particular, this one person I'm thinking about recently, your insight into the dampness and the heat that was in a channel that just needed to be expelled, really accelerated her healing. And she was thinking about taking prescription drugs for rheumatoid arthritis. And, we were like, oh, okay, hold on, let's try something first. And she, it's a work in progress always, but she is really, I've spoken to her since we last spoke, and she's really grateful and hopeful based on the results she's seen so far. So, I mean, the building up deficiencies is really, really important, of course, but also like removing these external forces that come in, that's huge, because acupuncture isn't so great at that. I mean, it can vent, definitely, but it's not as good as herbs are at that.
Yeah, absolutely. And they all have their strengths and weaknesses. I think that I feel really lucky because currently I'm not in acupuncture practice. I am exclusively focusing on herbs and doing the medicinary work. But people contact me still all the time with different needs. And now I have this network of providers that I can send to for acupuncture when that's the most appropriate treatment, or for some aspect of their treatment that they really need that. So it's awesome to have someone local that I know I can just be like, hey, head down the street. That's what you need right now, if it doesn't happen to be herbs. And I think that's really important for us to come together in that type of a community as providers, because none of us can do everything for everyone. And I think so often in medical professions, you see that mentality of practitioners not really being open to referring out or being open to different types of care. But, I don't think we really have time for that if we really want to uphold the greatest, benefit to our patient. It's our job to recognize our strengths and find people with the strengths that we need to complement that to really create a complete picture. And acupuncture and Chinese herbs have been married in that way for, millennia. So I think it's important that we continue that tradition. And that's a perfect example of that. And I'm so happy to hear that patient is getting the results that we're after. That's wonderful. And that was very recently as well. So that speaks to, that's a pretty powerful statement. So yay.
Yes. Yay.
All right, Melissa, well, to kind of wrap up our talk today, this has been so wonderful. Thank you for joining me and for being our first in this long series of practitioner interviews that we're going to be doing. This is really special, and I hope to have you on here again and have the opportunity to kind of revisit some of these topics and dive into new stuff, and we'll just kind of keep communicating about all of these exciting things.
Awesome.
And if you want to share with us right before you go, just a little bit about your ideal client, like what kind of patient do you love to work with? Like, what would you say is just kind of, if someone's listening today and is like, oh, I wonder if that's the right acupuncturist for me, like, how would they know?
Oh, that's a big question. My ideal client is someone who has anxiety, depression, insomnia, fatigue, is struggling to get through their daily routines. They know that this pressure has mounted up on them, and they're ready for release. And not that you have to be at a place where you're ready to just let go of all of your emotional baggage when you come in, but that you recognize that it's part of it. I mean, I kind of see two types of clients for the most part. One type of client is full of pain and physical ailments that are almost debilitating, and they're on a lot of prescriptions and they see a lot of doctors. and they're kind of running on a hamster wheel that isn't leading to anywhere, but they're not awake or aware enough to get to the deeper levels within themselves. So that's definitely one kind of client, and we love, you know, working with those clients and trying to convert them. But there's also the other client that has the awareness that, you know, okay, how I process things, my unconscious beliefs, the program that's running in the background all of the time, how I interact with my environment based on my triggers, all of that feeds into my physical wellness, and I'm ready to kind of look at that and work on that. So that client always is really happy to be at our clinic, and we love that process of, you know, they share it sometimes and sometimes they don't. You know, it doesn't have to be like out in the open for everybody, but just going through that process and knowing that you're held, you know, safe in our container, our community acupuncture clinic to do that is really rewarding.
Yeah, and that is such a gift to have that space on the patient side of things. I can definitely attest to that personally. So thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you.
This has been super fun. And to anyone that's listening today, I will have in our link tree in our bio, I'll have a page with all of Melissa's contact information and ways that you can find her if you need her. And if you have any questions, feel free to give Melissa a follow and message her directly. And same on my end, if you have any questions, feel free to message me directly. I'm happy to give you any answers I can. And yeah, have a great day, everybody. And thank you so much for joining us. This has been absolutely
Thank you very
wonderful.
much.
Bye, Melissa.
Bye.
Take care.